Well, the messaging seems to be very clear. Okay, let me pull it through. Hold on. Let me put it through. Aiwa,
Yes.
kuri kupisa South Africa. Ndakuda kutokwira ndege ndimbonogara kuno kuti ndakutoona kuti I made a mistake kugara kuEurope patime ino.
Yeah, Europe is the worst place at the moment.
Right. I think it's our life. Okay. So the
Okay.
article, okay. I'm gonna pull up the tweet. Hold on. Right. Right. So we're putting up the tweet or the picture first, right? And then we'll put up the tweet. Yeah, vakomana munenge maenda imi.
How is that relevant?
Eh?
How is the war next door relevant with the peace in my house?
Zimbabwe imi. Temu yakuti ukaona zvakunzi zvaendwa. Right, iyo. Okay, so what we have on the screen, Doc,
Yes.
is right. So that is the article. Let me pull up the actual tweet, Yava Charamba, so that Munyatsewana, because we don't want to quote him out of context, right? So now Mimi Munyatsewana, the actual original text. Tonza kuti vari kuti chii ivo nokuti takanzwa kavacharamba vachitaura ka totobva taziva kuti muzinda ndo ataura. Are you serious here?
Unless he says otherwise, while he's the presidential spokesperson, he's a human being. He can say things for himself or for the president, and not for the country or the party. I'm still waiting for his tweet for his ex. Simba, is it me freezing or it's you?
Right. Tavapano. I think Chief Soswapinda. Right.
Okay.
Saka Doc Mafasa. Here we are. Panapa tirikuona panapa. Spokesman. Anonzani chizve mutauri. Toti chipa chishona.
Ndiye mtauri.
Ndiye mutauri. Kana kuti toti mushauri. Zvese mushauri nomutauri.
Anotaura.
Right.
Mr.
Apa.
Dokora, we are very well.
Tachisa panapa ichocho. Right. Right. Chief Sose muripoka. Chief Sose. Okay, I think maybe but maybe he's just held up. Saka Doc Mafaza. What we can see there is a reaction by the man who is the voice of Mnangagwa. If Mnangagwa was to, let's just give an example. I don't want to wish him bad, right? But let's just assume Mnangagwa was to go into hospital and he was to go into a coma. George Jaramba ndiano sara ajirana nyika murambere.
No, that's not true.
Aiwa, but ndio voice ka. Charamba akataura something. Totoziva kuti ndiye mutungamiri wenyika ari kutaura. Right.
That's different, but anyway.
Right. Let me read, right? Tafamba nacho. Right. And by the way, Doc Mavaza, you know that the election results right now, they are set at 85%. And the ANC has been damaged. I mean, they have gone behind. Vaita kunonzi kusha agwa akusi kushashangwa. Tingatoti kuzhazhangwa. Am I wrong? Vatadza kusumudza mafiga. Dai ngo ari kuZimbabwe ANC. Dai nge sina kana dai ANC yanga yakutonzi aiwaka. chidzokerai kunofudza mombe because matadza kuwina 50+1 matadza kutosvika even kana 42% zvayo, right? So the current projection is that the ANC is going to go into league nevarungu nevangezi, right? And that is what Vacharamba is suggesting here. Let me read in his tweet. This is just an hour ago. Lest we don't remember, this is not the first time South African politics have delivered white figures to our region and to Zanu PF. We have had this before to emerge unscathed. I thus get amused when people suggest some ANC-DA alliance would leave Zanu PF in some invidious position. Of course not. Never! Vice exclamation. Zvaendwa kapo dogma verse. Haisi panic here.
No, that's not a panic.
Tipe 2 minutes game.
It is actually an assurance. If you look at the trend of the elections as we speak now, yes, it will be difficult for ANC to come up to any GNU with another party except the DA because of the figures which are coming out. And what is actually
Saka nyika yadzokera kuvarungu kai.
Not really. What you must understand
aiwa kana kuti ndiri wrong ndati nyika yadzokera kudemocracy.
No, you're not serious. But let me explain this to you before I can put my tongue around you. One, the difference which we are seeing now with the ANC losing, or rather not getting the numbers it needs, has nothing to do with the fall or decline in popularity of all revolutionary parties. It simply shows you that the MK party and ANC, the split of MK from ANC has caused this the backsliding in the figures and the percentage of the elections. So when you look at all these on the round, the ANC is actually paying heavily for the treatment they did to Zuma. It's a lesson to us as Zanu PF and to everybody else wherever he is, that when one of your colleagues, one of your comrades is not in power, you do not have to be stapling all over his body because it's off power. The treatment of Zuma is actually coming back to bite the whole party as the ANC. Umkhonto Sizwe is a protest group. I can't call it a political party. It is actually a protest group which came out protesting the treatment of Zuma by Ramaphosa. Now, coming to the statement of the spokesperson, I want you to understand one thing. Comrade Charamba is the presidential spokesperson, and he did not say what he was writing here has been sent by the president. This was his comment after reviewing the results which were trickling in from South Africa. This does not mean that he's in a panic mode. We still have elections coming in 2028 and not now. We are still in the driving seat. And in that aspect, if you look at our driving seat and the driving seat we have been running for the past 47 years, we are nowhere near panic. We are not those who can panic. We are the ones who control panic if it is there anywhere else. What we are simply saying is having a neighbor who is in partnership with an enemy does not make us enemies of the neighbor. And again, it does not make us get worried about how we run our issues. So to say it again, don't forget, when there is going to be a government of national unity of the two parties, the DA and the ANC, ANC holds 40%. What they want is 50%, another 10%. So the other party is coming only with 10% contribution. So they don't have a 50% contribution. They don't have a 50% control of government. They only have 10%. And on that basis, it does not spell doom to the neighbors like us, Zimbabwe, and any other country. So in short, There is nothing to write home about, and the comments of Comrade Charamba are not an indication of any fear or of any panic, as you might want to say. It is actually an indication of a concerned neighbor who simply says, when our friend gets to work together with the one person who is not for the people, we can still come out unscathed. We are simply saying we should say no to work out with those who cannot work together with us. But in this case, there is a country to be run. There is a politics to be looked at. And in this case, when South African parties have not amassed enough, then from there and on only that basis, the two can come together. Don't forget, South Africa does not vote for a president, but the president is selected by the winning party. So the party with the majority seats is the one which appoints a president. And it is up to the party how they appoint their presidents. Some parties in South Africa can only make sure a president is appointed from the list of those who are the leaders or presidents of that winning party. But it is not constitutional to say they have to be all presidents of a winning party. It's the winning party which chooses the president. They can choose anybody whichever way they want. Nobody can say no to that. So in short, yes, Simba and Chief, there is no panic here. ZANU PF is not in a panic mood, and we are not panicking about anything. It's a wishful thinking of other people who think that ZANU PF is in a dilemma. In short, in closing, Simba, what people are commenting about the comments of George Charamba is deeply depressing and totally flabbergasting. It's not a matter of us even to think about, because it does not reflect on us as ZANU PF.
Wow. Thank you very much, Doc Mavaza. You know, the way you speak, I'm hoping that you can see me now. Okay. You know, the way you speak, Doc, you do sound very confident. And your messaging suggests that nothing, absolutely nothing has happened here. You are saying that the development is nothing new. But anyway, let me stop summarizing, because you've said it yourself with your own mouth. Let's move over to Chief. Chief, how do you see this? Doc Mavaza says there's nothing to celebrate here. Hapana zviripo apapa. Musa farise nezvinu zvisirizo palosi ANC apo. And he also says, look, Zuma is still ANC. He is just a faction of ANC. Am I correct, Doc?
Yes, you are very correct.
Right. Okay. Chief Fighter Seko. Asiva vadzimira magetsi.
Triple C doesn't pay for its members, they suffer. I can see Mr. Chris
Oh dear.
Munyaka here.
Avachanzi Triple C vakunzi chamisa.
Oh yeah, so
vakunzi chamisa. Iko zvino hamuchagoni makagreba MDCT, makagreba MDC Alliance, makagreba CCC. But chinhu chinonzi chamisa manje hamugoni kuchigreba manje. Munenge makutomutorera passport yake, of which you can't.
Don't forget that even Chabangu was able to grab Chamisa's face and he escaped it for his party.
Right.
Right, Simba. Yeah.
Chief, muri kufarisa zvenhando, hapana zvaitika.
No. Simba, it's either Dr. Mavaza is naive or he's just good at playing fool, because if there is anyone who is affected by what is happening in South Africa, it is ZANU PF. ZANU PF so desperately wanted ANC to continue with the majority, to win the majority rule in South Africa. That's the reason why they donated more than $3 million to ANC. Why else would they do that? They did that because they know that ANC has been their mainstay. Simba, as well as everyone knows, that the ANC is complicit to all the problems that we have had in Zimbabwe. They are complicit to the suffering that we have had in Zimbabwe, to the suffering that the majority of Zimbabweans have been having. And it has all been because of the support of the ANC to Zanu-PF. Zanu-PF is still in power because of the support that they've been getting from the ANC. Without the ANC, you're going to see that Zanu-PF is going to find it very difficult. They are finding it very difficult already because the people of Zimbabwe don't want them. The citizens of Zimbabwe have long rejected them. That's why they've never voted for them. That's why Zanu-PF it's known everywhere else that they've never won an election save for the 1980 election. All this time they've been rigging elections after election, and when it became worse that they could no longer sustain or do the rigging on their own, they needed the support of the region, and the region has been well marshaled by the ANC. South Africa is the United States of Africa. It's like the America of Africa. So they are listened to. When they speak, the people listen. Now the ANC is gone, and I'm one of the people that are celebrating, and I will not mince my words or even become apologetic about it. A unity government is looming. A power sharing arrangement is looming in South Africa, and that definitely will affect Zanu-PF and work in favor of the people of Zimbabwe.
Wow, Chief, thank you very much. I was hoping that Wilbert was going to be here, but I guess it's also good. Maybe at least we can have two.
No. Wilbert cannot participate in any discussion that doesn't offer him an opportunity to attack Chamisa or Triple C. So he's better off away from this discussion. He won't contribute anything meaningful. Just excuse him.
Chamisa anenge akupinda papanje ku South Africa.
Ndozvandikutaura kuti because there's no Chamisa, Wilbert has no subject. His subject is always Chamisa. So now there's no Chamisa in South Africa, so you can't contribute anything meaningful.
Right. What about this opinion, gents? Both of you. Tell me. Tulani Mugio says this is an end of an era. Dr. Mavasa, what do you say to this? 1 minute. He says, look, but this is the end of an era.
Okay, Simba, thank you very much. And I want to thank the technology for switching you off, because Chief is totally mistaken. And this tsunami or Tulani is actually confused too. There is no end of any era. As I have explained to you, what has happened here is just a wake-up call to ANC. The next elections, ANC will come back unscathed, as George Charamba had said. Again, you need to appreciate that the low figures ANC had amassed is simply because ANC did split, and the splitting came up with two parties, the ANC and the MK. So if these two, if they had not split, ANC would still be in the driving seat. We are simply saying ANC did not see it coming. They thought that it would just end like that. Yes, every revolutionary party has its issues, has its problems, but sometimes when people break or split, they actually affect the strength of the whole party. But yes, it is not an end of era. It is simply the beginning of reformation of liberation parties. And how they are going to reform, they would reform in a way that they would number one, do exactly what they have promised. Because South Africans, all these years after independence, the blacks have not taken their land back, regardless of what has been promised before this. And now what ANC has learned is that if you make a political promise, you must have a political resolution to your political promise. And without that resolution, and then there is no end to the beginning. So when we look at the whole issue on the round, it is not proper to say this is the end of an era. There is no end of any era, neither is it the beginning. It is simply a wake-up call, a little shake, and the ANC will come get regrouped, and they are still in power. Don't forget, they are still in power. And as I have said, whoever they are going to partner in this leadership of the country is only going to contribute 10%. And therefore, all the common papers, as we look up here, it will be Triple C, or rather the incarnation of Triple C in South Africa, where they think that by getting into JNU in 2008 meant that they are going to win the following elections. The history has told us
Right. If you can roll down, sir.
History has
Yeah,
told
Chief.
us.
Yeah,
Before
Chief.
Chief comes in, I want Chief to understand that history has told us a different issue. When MDC came into the government of national unity, the following elections, they lost dismally. And that will happen in South Africa.
Right. And do you think that we're going to have a vice president from the DA? Because it seems to be that's what Vacharaba is suggesting there, that the DA is definitely going to take second place, like a VP position.
If they agree to that, they could. If they're going to have one VP, they could have them if they want to, or they can offer them a ministerial post in the Ministry of Social Social Media.
Manje ndichamisa chamisa apinda makamurambidza kuZimbabwe uko mchiti apera basa arizaina.
I don't see where Chamisa is equated to DA or EFF or MK.
Chamisa is both DA and MK and EFF.
Simba, before Chief answers, I want you to remember that Chamisa is a head of nothing. He leads a nameless party with no following. He is no longer a political leader. He is simply allowed making nothing. Over to Chief.
Right. It looks like Simba has gone away, but to agree with the writer that Simba quoted, yes, it's the beginning of an era, a new era that is seeing the dismantling of the boys' brigade, the liberation, so-called liberation parties are being dismantled. It started in Zambia, and now it's on the big one in South Africa, and it's refreshing. That's how politics should be. We should not have that dominance of any political arena at any time. So yes, the ANC will not have a majority, which also means they will not be able to make unilateral decisions, especially in as far as regional matters and bilateral matters are concerned. They will have to consult. I do not see DA or Malema or of course, we can't talk of MK because MK is too close to the ANC. But we cannot expect the DA to be sucking up to what the ANC will be doing if they continue to go to bed with Zanu PF. I don't think it's going to work. It will not happen. We have seen how vibrant the South African parliament is. So the ANC will not have it their way anymore. So ZANU PF, we have to come up with other, devices, other ways, other means of rigging elections. But even if they rig elections, they don't have the support of Zambia already. They will not have, they will cease, and they are ceasing to have the support of South Africa. So it's going to be very difficult because we know that Zanu PF has not been winning elections in Zimbabwe. They last won an election in 1980. You know, in any normal situation, Zanu PF would not be in any way near power. What Dr. Mavaza is saying that the ANC is going to recover from the way Zanu PF recovered. It's wishful thinking. You know, you're just dreaming, Mavaza. But of course, you know, people are allowed to dream. South Africa is not Zimbabwe. Zanu PF only came back in 2016 after the GNU because they rigged that election. They rigged that election. It was so obvious to everyone. The same way that they did in 2023 and 2018. So obvious that this is a rigged election. SADC saw it, all the international organizations that came, even our own local non-governmental organizations, and you know the most important stakeholders of an election, the people of Zimbabwe. They saw that these elections are being rigged. South Africa, ANC doesn't have that luxury. South Africans are not Zimbabweans. South Africa is not Zimbabwe. The South African system, the ANC to keep to rig elections. So they will not come back. They will not recover from this. This is the end.
Thank you, Chief. But I think the point you are missing here is that what happens to our neighbors does not reflect what will happen to us. The problems which are being faced by ANC now, it has been the making, their own making, and therefore ZANU-PF is actually going to learn more from what ANC has done and has gone through. So it means it will be more tough for anybody to even start to begin thinking that ZANU-PF is going to lose elections any day from now. We will not, because we actually learn as we go on. And again, we'll still come back from this setback of ANC. ZANU-PF will come back unscathed. Why is ZANU-PF saying it will come back unscathed? Because it is a revolutionary party. It feels for its revolutionary brother, who is the ANC. And when we say we will come up unscathed as ZANU-PF, we are simply saying we are a bit heartbroken by the results from the neighbors' territory. But however, we will come out of this unscathed. And again, MDC and Triple C in Zimbabwe have always been losing elections. And we all know that. So we cannot then compare them with hard-working opposition parties in South Africa. So it is actually our own shame to believe that what's happening in South Africa should be revisited and happen to us in Zimbabwe. There is nothing we have to worry about. We have actually shown, we've been shown that the ANC do not control the majority now, and they will not control it for the next 4 years, and it's all because of their stubbornness. And we have not seen or heard any person from the Mkondo Sizwe or from DA or from EFF who is sympathetic to Zimbabwe or to the revolutionary parties. But what we have seen is that they all have got a opposition mentality, which thinks that a better governance, better politics is when the white man comes back into power, which is very nonsensical for anybody, even you, Simba, and Chief Jokora, to think in that aspect. We have nothing to learn. We have nothing to lose. vatokora mukana kungochena ndebvu nekutaurisa, but it does not help because ZANU-PF is in the driving seat and it's not affected by the results of South Africa. Over to you, Chief.
Saka muri
Okay.
kundudza kuti vamunangagwa vari ku havasi kutya.
vari
There's nothing to be
kubvunda simba, vari kubvunda, usanyeperwe. Izvo so vakapinda
Right.
vari mumagumbeze nebhutsu.
Oh, yeah, dear.
There is
Can you
nothing
hear
to be
me,
worried
Simba?
about. There is nothing to be worried about. There's no fear from anybody in ZANU-PF. We actually look at our neighbor with a learning eye and not a fearful one. We are not cowards, neither are we afraid, neither are we affected. Yes, it is said that a revolutionary party has lost its clout because of traitors and people like D.A. Malema and Zuma. And those three are put together, they still cannot make half of the votes casted in South Africa. But however, we only want you to say, Simba and Chief, when you contribute 10% of the seats, it does not automatically make you eligible to be vice president. So the office of the vice president of South Africa, it is entirely up to them. If the government of South Africa wishes to say we don't need to be to partner with DA, then they can go to those who are willing to be partners and then work on it that way. South African constitution does not restrict how many parties should come together to form a GNU. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So the other two minor parties can come together and join ANC and then rule the country without the involvement of DA or Mkondo. So at the end of the day, what is happening in South Africa is no reflection in what will happen in Zimbabwe, because we have been winning, we will win, and we will always win.
But Dr. Mafasa, can I just ask you about the reality of a South Africa president who pops up like what Ramaphosa, Mbeki, and others have done when they announce all of a sudden from nowhere to the wide world that the elections went well and that Zimbabwe, all it needs are sanctions to be removed and all that. Statements which they claim is from SADC, but it's widely viewed that those statements are from the so-called liberation parties. Do you foresee a situation where a government of national unity in South Africa will ever make such statements in support of
Yes, but
even the 2023 election win that Mnangagwa claims he won?
Simba, South Africa did not win elections for us. We won our elections our own way. They played a role as observers. They made their understanding of what has happened, and they've actually told the world what they've seen. And we are grateful for their straightforwardness and truthfulness as far as Zimbabwean elections are concerned. And I want to let you know that we don't need the approval of South Africa for us to be winners, because we are going to win with or without South Africa. So the fact that South Africa is lost, ANC has lost, or is going to have some few problems, it does not remove the truth to be said about Zimbabwe when the elections have been counted after the voting process. So in short, Simba, there is nothing to be afraid of. Cheer up. We are in a driving seat, and we are going towards glory, because it is exactly what we are meant to be. Glorious ZANU-PF.
Well, here we are. Doc Mafasa, are you able to read maybe and respond to just 3 comments that will flash on the screen? Those that you don't like, maybe you can just say, I ignore. I'm just going to pop them up here because Chief seems to have dropped, I think, the network. So they've got the first one there. Can you see it?
Is it the one from Regis?
Yes, Regis Nyavira.
Yes, Regis Nyawera here says this time there is no election to talk about in Zimbabwe in the future involving ZANU-PF. In fact, what's happening in South Africa empowers citizens to remove ZANU-PF face from now onwards. Simba, if you look at this, it's just a misguided and a misplaced comment from Regis. Regis, we do not need anybody's thumb for us to remain in power. We only need the people of Zimbabwe who have put us in this power and kept us in here as well for a long time. And therefore, there is no way we can be scared of elections because there are no elections now in the near future until 2028. So, in short, 2028, Zimbabwe will have elections, ZANU-PF will win. Today or next week, unfortunately, we do not have any election coming. So unfortunately for the enemies who were hoping that we are going to be having elections soon, and people might still be having an impression of the South African trickery to be playing within our electoral system. There is nothing like that. We are not afraid of losses of our comrades in other countries. We sympathize with them, but ZANU-PF have got the mandate to continue ruling and to continue leading its people towards the eternal rest.
Let's go to the next one, Doc. And the next one is right. Okay, next one here.
Yes, this is from Mr. Jakaras. Okay, Jakaras, let us tell you, if you don't understand, the question is Makawina Kupi. Let me explain, answer you. Look around you. You will see a country which is under the leadership of ZANU-PF. That's where ZANU-PF won. And that country is none other than Zimbabwe. So you, Mr. Yoken Jakarasi, whatever you call yourself, if you don't understand that we won from our point of view, and we are the ones in charge. So that question, I don't think it needs a serious answer. We just look at it, it's laughable that we have got people who are waiting to celebrate the loss of ANC as if it is the win of their opposition in Zimbabwe. They must concentrate with their opposition, with their party, which they no longer have. And coming to Chris Munyaka, he said here, same applies ne zvaida kuitwa nakasukwere, exactly right. I fully agree with you, Munyaka, that what Mukondo have done it's exactly what Kasukwere was seeking to do, to derail the numbers from ZANU-PF basket into the basket of the opposition. What has happened in South Africa? It's a tantrum which has been kicked off by Zuma and his MK party, and as a result, it almost compromised and reversed the gains of independence in South Africa. Yes,
Right. Thank you very much. There's something here that maybe is maybe we could end with this one. It's this is more of context, and I would like to ask you what you understand, Dr. Mavaza, around the dynamics of Mbeki and Jacob Zuma, which TK here is dropping. I don't get what he's saying. Maybe it's me.
Okay, I don't understand what he's saying. I don't understand what the TK remembers about the Thabo Mbeki issue. Which issue in particular? The one which made him get removed from the presidency, or the one which made him talk about the land issue in Zimbabwe? I don't know what he's talking about. So in that case, it is difficult to comment on what TK had said. Simba.
Right. Thank you very much. Ono, I think someone is saying, yeah, to Anzi 2008.
Yeah, in 2008.
Yes, so I think he's talking about the Mbeki Zimbabwe issue, not the Mbeki SA issue. So the Mbeki intervention. So it looks like TK is now forecasting into the future, and TK sees South Africa bouncing back, this time with far much more greater visionary vengeance against alleged misrule in Zimbabwe. So a situation that is now most likely to see a resolving of all the contentious issues, because for the first time there's now a healthy and arguably healthy, in quotes, healthy and or excuse me, healthy South Africa government. And that is with or without a Zuma. Like, let's say if ANC chooses to work with Zuma instead of DA, right? Still, there's likely to be a healthy democracy, even if ANC chooses to work with EFF instead of the other two. There's likely to be a healthy in quotes once again, South Africa government that could play an active, someone calls it vicious vengeance against alleged misrule.
Simba, there is no way ANC would try to work together with MK for now, because MK is the cause of this dilemma in the first place. They cannot bake their cake and try to eat it themselves.
Also, you think that the South ANC is never going to work with MK?
No, I don't think they've got.
But I thought that, because the thing is, remember that there is what you are alleging there, that MK and EFF are ANC offshoots. And at one time, I even heard Malema saying, when EFF has achieved its purpose of cleansing the politics of South Africa, EFF will go back to ANC. And so, could the same be said about MK being a part of ANC, or going back or bouncing back to? So my point that I'm trying to say here, that there is a better compromise for ANC right now in MK or EFF than it has in DA, who are viewed as imperialists and the like, and people who are white monopoly capitalists.
Simba, ANC has no problems working with DA. We are not going to be agreeing on the policies. ANC won't be agreeing with DA on the policies. They will agree on some issues which they will be united to do. The welfare of people. But
so, are you of the school of thought that says ANC is a creation of white capitalists? I mean, the new ANC, the new ANC.
The MK, yes, it is.
Right.
Yes. Zimbabwe, I'm still here.
Yeah, so then it looks like we are now working into the design, or we are folding, as we are getting to end, Dr. Mavaza, into the design of the statement. You seem to be leading me into this pit that I didn't want to get into. George Sharamba's statement today. Gombara gadzira iro rati gadzira iro. Risiri kunzwisika kuti gomba iro arichera ndirani. Gomba retweet iro.
Yes.
Rekunoti iye Charamba ari kutoita senge atobata ma-V11 ezvadiscuswa kudhara. Zvatokonkludwa kuti Ramaphosa akubatana nevarungu neapambe pfumbi.
Honestly speaking, I agree with you to an extent. There is nothing which has been agreed yet. It is only an opinion and brainstorming that ANC which party would it join. And I will tell you that if I had my own way of advising ANC, I would tell them whatsoever, not to give in to the traitors, the enemies, the ones who have caused this problem in the first place. That is Malema and the Zuma issue. So those two have actually pulled out of ANC, tried their own political parties. ANC will have made a mistake. If it joins them, it will be actually jumping.
So ANC
itself
would rather
into the
use
fire.
the DA. You mean it will use the DA as their dog to bite the two, to bite Zuma with his prosecution, bite Malema as well.
Yes. And and what you'll see today, and those who are listening, is that ANC has not lost elections. It simply needs a little push, and it's requesting for that push from its own members. And therefore, the presence of Changirai and the other judges, the presence of their legacy into the ANC issue today does not mean that what happened during Tangirai's time will happen again during this time. So the presence of what it might have happened before in Zimbabwe does not mean it will repeat itself.
Well, let's end with this one, Doc Mavaza, the last one here. Please respond to Regis Nyavira, the last one, please.
Yes, Regis says DA will force sanity in Zimbabwe because of the problem. The problem we have with Regis and those who are cheering him is to believe that the world, or rather the other parties are there to punish the Zanu PF. They believe that if we don't see eye to eye with other parties of other countries, if they come into power, they will treat us in a bad taste. No, that's not true, and that's not correct, and it's quite shallow for Regis to believe that. We are not cowards, and we will not pull down the flag simply because somebody is offered something else. What we are looking at is there is no sanity Zimbabwe is going to learn from South Africa or from DA. We are actually going to learn that never trust the opposition, because they are not there for you. So Zimbabwean democracy does not need a loss in South Africa. It does not need a loss in any other country for Zimbabwe to learn a lesson. ZANU PF knows very well that it is a very sane political party running a very sane, hard-working country, and therefore there is no sanity being brought into this whole issue by any political party.
But SADC summit munoona kuti kunenge kuchange kune rugare iroko. The last SADC summit yeku Angola iya takaona vamwe vachibuda vachipopota popota.
The summit is going to usher in the new president of SADC, and it will be none other than somebody different. The question is, what's the impact of this on the SADC summit?
Yes, so aren't we likely to see a healthy SADC this time? Nekuti kakunyanga reSADC ukoko ndiko kune nyaya kwako. Ndiko kune nyaya kwako.
The point is, SADC is going to bring a new chairperson, and that new chairperson is called Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. And therefore, there is no cause, there is no reason to celebrate the loss of ANC with an excuse of wanting to say you are celebrating the loss of ZANU PF. ZANU PF is not in a mood of running away, hiding, or threatening. It is in a mood of sitting down and holding the hand of another brother, and we lead ourselves towards the prosperity of our people, and not setting each country against each other because of the loss of elections by one person. So,
Doc Mavaza, if we can roll down, yeah.
Yes. ANC has not lost completely, as I've said. It has lost the two-thirds majority. ANC has not been rejected by other parties to an extent to believe that it has lost the chances to continue ruling. No. ANC is actually got some few lessons from its the lackadaisical attitude it has been exhibiting in the past. But I can assure you, Simba, from this day forward, ANC will be a well-reformed and quite a patriotic party, and it will win. It will come back unscathed in the next South African elections.
Dr. Mafaza, we're gonna need to shut, at this crescendo where, unfortunately, even though we've got 1,000 people watching and listening on all our platforms total right now, but we have to shut. I know Twitter family, and some of you, your comments, we couldn't see them. That's where the largest population is. But quickly, this is our end. Let's catch up later on, Dr. Mafaza, and if you're still up, maybe call in. Tirambe tichifamba tichitsenga nya ANC. Akusikuraro South Africa.
Yes, definitely, you're right. I'll call you and we can discuss later. And thank you, Zimbabwe, and thank you, comrades, and a special thank you to Chief Soshe for the time he has been contributing with us today. And thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Zimbabwean, rise up and seize upon the moment. Zimbabwe, rise up and seize upon the moment. For this is just a foretaste of what is our delight. For this is just a foretaste of what is our delight. That's right, Zimbabwe, rise up.
The future.
So this is case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made.
Northampton.
Have you found it?
I did. Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference now. Thank you.
Yes, I did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. What's your message to other women who are still to get their refunds?
Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Don't lose hope. And listen to Simba, please. And Bud Ezra. Listen and follow all their instructions. We'll get victory.
Wow.
The descendants of the great pharaohs are clearly now rising to take over the world. The Americans have CNN, the British, BBC, the Asians have Al Jazeera, the Germans have DW. Where is the great pharaoh's own news network? Where's the great eagle's eye? It is here. It has come alive, finally. And even now, as I look at this instant reversal previously impossible, I know that this is just the beginning. There is clearly so much more in store for us if we were willing to invest in ourselves. Let's invest in Zimi, our own network, the Black Pharaohs News Network, the People's Eye, the Zimi.
So this is case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made. Have you found it?
I did. Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference now. Thank you.
Yes, I did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited into, transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. What's your message to other women who are still to get their refunds?
Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Don't lose hope. And listen to Simba, please. And Bud Ezra. Listen and follow all their instructions. We'll get victory.
Wow.
The descendants of the great pharaohs are clearly now rising to take over the world. The Americans have CNN, the British, BBC, the Asians have Al Jazeera, the Germans have DW. Where is the great pharaoh's own news network? Where's the great eagle's eye? It is here. It has come alive, finally. And even now, as I look at this instant reversal previously impossible, I know that this is just the beginning. There is clearly so much more in store for us if we were willing to invest in ourselves. Let's invest in Zimi, our own network, the Black Pharaohs News Network, the People's Eye, the Zimi.
So this is case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made.
Northampton.
Have you found it?
I did. Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference now. Thank
Yes, I
you.
did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited into, transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. What's your message to other women who are still to get their refunds?
Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Don't lose hope. And listen to Simba, please. And Bud Ezra. Listen and follow all their instructions. We'll get victory.
Wow.
The descendants of the great pharaohs are clearly now rising to take over the world. The Americans have CNN, the British, BBC, the Asians have Al Jazeera, the Germans have DW. Where is the great pharaoh's own news network? Where's the great eagle's eye? It is here. It has come alive, finally. And even now, as I look at this instant reversal previously impossible, I know that this is just the beginning. There is clearly so much more in store for us if we were willing to invest in ourselves. Let's invest in Zimi, our own network, the Black Pharaohs News Network, the People's Eye, the Zimi.
So this is case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made. Have you found it?
I did. Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference down. Thank
Yes,
you.
I did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. What's your message to other women who are still to get their refunds?
Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Don't lose hope. And listen to Simba, please. And Bud Ezra. Listen and follow all their instructions. We'll get victory.
Wow.
The descendants of the great pharaohs are clearly now rising to take over the world. The Americans have CNN, the British, BBC, the Asians have Al Jazeera, the Germans have DW. Where is the great pharaoh's own news network? Where's the great eagle's eye? It is here. It has come alive, finally. And even now, as I look at this instant reversal previously impossible, I know that this is just the beginning. There is clearly so much more in store for us if we were willing to invest in ourselves. Let's invest in Zimi, our own network, the Black Pharaoh's News Network, the People's Eye, the Zimi.
So this is case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made.
Northampton.
Have you found it?
I did. Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference down. Thank
Yes,
you.
I did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. What's your message to other women who are still to get their refunds?
Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Don't lose hope. And listen to Simba, please. And Bud Ezra. Listen and follow all their instructions. We'll get victory.
Wow.
The descendants of the great pharaohs are clearly now rising to take over the world. The Americans have CNN, the British, BBC, the Asians have Al Jazeera, the Germans have DW. Where is the great pharaoh's own news network? Where's the great eagle's eye? It is here. It has come alive, finally. And even now, as I look at this instant reversal previously impossible, I know that this is just the beginning. There is clearly so much more in store for us if we were willing to invest in ourselves. Let's invest in Zimi, our own network, the Black Pharaoh's News Network, the People's Eye, the Zimi.
So this is case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made.
Northampton.
Have you found it?
I did. Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference down. Thank
Yes, I
you.
did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right.
What's your message to other women who are still to get their refunds?
Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Don't lose hope. And listen to Simba, please. And Bud Ezra. Listen and follow all their instructions. We'll get victory.
Wow.
The descendants of the great pharaohs are clearly now rising to take over the world. The Americans have CNN, the British, BBC, the Asians have Al Jazeera, the Germans have DW. Where is the great pharaoh's own news network? Where's the great eagle's eye? It is here. It has come alive, finally. And even now, as I look at this instant reversal previously impossible, I know that this is just the beginning. There is clearly so much more in store for us if we were willing to invest in ourselves. Let's invest in Zimi, our own network, the Black Pharaoh's News Network, the People's Eye, the Zimi.
So this is case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made. Have you found it?
I did. Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference down. Thank you.
Yes, I did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. What's your message to other women who are still to get their refunds?
Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Don't lose hope. And listen to Simba, please. And Bud Ezra. Listen and follow all their instructions. We'll get victory.
Wow.
The descendants of the great pharaohs are clearly now rising to take over the world. The Americans have CNN, the British, BBC, the Asians have Al Jazeera, the Germans have DW. Where is the great pharaoh's own news network? Where's the great eagle's eye? It is here. It has come alive, finally. And even now, as I look at this instant reversal previously impossible, I know that this is just the beginning. There is clearly so much more in store for us if we were willing to invest in ourselves. Let's invest in Zimi, our own network, the Black Pharaoh's News Network, the People's Eye, the Zimi.
So this is case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made.
Northampton.
Have you found it?
I did. Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference down. Thank
Yes,
you.
I did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. What's your message to other women who are still to get their refunds?
Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Don't lose hope. And listen to Simba, please. And Bud Ezra. Listen and follow all their instructions. We'll get victory.
Wow.
The descendants of the great pharaohs are clearly now rising to take over the world. The Americans have CNN, the British, BBC, the Asians have Al Jazeera, the Germans have DW. Where is the great pharaoh's own news network? Where's the great eagle's eye? It is here. It has come alive, finally. And even now, as I look at this instant reversal previously impossible, I know that this is just the beginning. There is clearly so much more in store for us if we were willing to invest in ourselves. Let's invest in Zimi, Our own network, the Black Pharaohs News Network, the People's Eye, the Zimi.
So this is case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made. Have you found it?
Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference down. Thank
Yes,
you.
I did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. What's your message to other women?
Hey, Wilbert.
Hello.
You came a bit late.
Sorry, I just seen your message there. Well, I'm glad that some people are getting their refunds. Thanks very much for your help.
No, it's small things that we do here and there to help the community.
Well, I tell you, to these people, I think you and me know Kuti, that 3,000 means a lot. This was a lifetime savings, and somebody steals it. I mean, I think it's a pity, really, that we've got people with that mentality.
Well, it's the saddest part, Wilbert, is when you will discover that this scam, the beneficiary of this scam, of this 25 million scam, is Welshman Ngube's publicist.
Okay.
Yes. Well, she's here.
Well, let's be honest.
So in this period that Welshman Ngube has gained power against Chamisa, his publicist has amassed 25 million stealing from Matevele women. Kubira va madzimai ekumatevele kwake kumusha kwake. So does that not explain the sabotage that we now see of Chabango becoming the leader of the opposition and Welshman being the exclusive leader of the corrupted CCC?
Simba, I'll be honest with you. Some of these oppositions, I've come to the conclusion that I think we have got people like yourself, particularly, have got really an important task of educating the people. Because without educating them, they'll be exploited again and again and again. You've got to be very careful. You've got to realize that there's somebody out there with their own agenda. I mean, this whole thing of the opposition, I think you know my position. I think the opposition sold out a long time ago during the GNU. We had the opportunity to implement reform. They failed to implement even one. And they've been now participating in these flawed elections for the sake of benefiting. And they have benefited. You and me cannot deny that.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. But let's just go into my elections. I'm just looking at a video that I wanted to put up. And that is someone who is representing Jacob Zuma's MK party, and she's saying that the MK will not form a coalition with the DA and will not form a coalition with the ANC. I don't know what that means. She seems to suggest that there's a possibility that DA with 20-something percent, is it 25? it could possibly form a coalition with MK and EFF. Is that possible? Let me see. 25 plus 20. Ah, you know what? Out of 50% government.
No, it should be 50.
Ah, it sure.
They will still need another party because MK has got 13% and
vanogona kubatana
EFF,
nechimwe smaller parties to vana action,
they'll
and
need
they can
all
flood.
the other smaller parties. That's
Yes,
true.
and then they can actually defeat ANC. So if they bribe the others, sorry, I'm using that term, right? But if they persuade the other three, they could actually outsmart the ANC. ANC over yatoshayiswa chini.
But from an interview I've just listened to, DA was saying, a DA official was saying, in the interest of the country, they will form a coalition with ANC. Because I think seriously, ANC now has had their wings clipped, and they will not be so arrogant. They know that this time they've got to cut out the mismanagement, they've got to cut out the corruption, and DA can work with them. If you were in DA, you would say to yourself, with ANC now's wings clipped, we can do something for the country. I think DA will find it very difficult to work with people like our friend Julius Malema, because I mean, you can't reason with Julius. I think both of us know that.
So that's the lady there. Can you see what she's saying?
I think I've seen this video clip where she was saying she could not work with the ANC. So she's saying we might as well go resurrect de Klerk. So okay, in this particular case, she's saying they can't work with DA as well.
Yes. So they are refusing to work with DA. They are refusing to work with ANC. Sakazadako. Or maybe they know their fate. They know that DA and ANC doesn't want them anyway. That's another thing.
I think ANC would not want to work with MK. I think that is my honest opinion. And I think they'll find it very difficult. Because in this particular case, to be quite honest, Jacob Zuma is very glad that he actually has formed that party and it has eroded ANC support. So I think Jacob Zuma's agenda is revenge. And also Jacob Zuma, MK, have got their own extreme agenda, which is no different from EFF. I think it'll be very difficult. DA and MK working together, I don't see that happening. And I think the interview I heard from one of the DA officials saying they would be willing to seriously consider working with the ANC. Personally, if you were in DA, I would tell you personally that I think it would be in your interest to work actually with the ANC, because you now the position the ANC now is in, they will not be so arrogant to be corrupt and incompetent as they were in the past. So why shouldn't you work with them? You could. South Africa's politics has been changed now. And I think this will be the stepping stone for DA to show that they are capable of contributing constructively to the economic prosperity of South Africa. And I think it would be a pity if they were going to pass that. And working with the ANC would be a way of achieving that. With MK or EFF, even if they were able to form a coalition, they could never achieve anything with that plot. They are just too extreme. They just want the cheap politics. That is the problem with both those two parties, in my view.
You see, Wilbert, I think Malema and his grouping won't agree with you. To them, it's about pursuing a moral agenda. It's not about um, um, being right. It's about you being accurate in your morality, in your drive, moral drive.
Yeah, but what they've got to also accept with EFF is that this is a party that really, if you were to interview Julius Malema right now, where they stand, they other than being rhetorical, there is nothing that he can say he stands and is rational. Here is an individual who have praised Zimbabwe, for instance, seizure of the land. Yeah, if he is rational, he would at least be able to say what went wrong with Zimbabwe's seizure of the land. At least appreciate the land was given to the ruling elite. He has failed to even appreciate that. I mean, you wonder, is he, how intellectual is his argument on the land seizure? If the land seizure, if he's seizing the land to give it to the landless peasants, that I agree with. But to seize it, to give it to the ruling elite, is totally unacceptable. And he should have seen that, but he clearly has failed to see it. And so to keep on arguing on that point is completely to fail to understand the politics of the land issue. The land issue could be done much more in a more rational way. I mean, one of the things that I have said myself is that one of the things that could improve, even without seizing any more additional land, is to give the rural people title deeds to the, say, even half a square kilometer of land on which their house is built. That will give the rural people the confidence to go and invest money and build a decent homestead, build toilets, and make sure there's a well to supply you with clean water, and even plant trees for an orchard or something, so that square kilometer or half a kilometer, they know, even if they should decide they want to move from it, they can sell it. Whereas at the present moment, because you have no title deeds, even the hut itself, other than the hut itself, we have nothing. If you should decide to move from there, if you are lucky to get somebody to live in the hut, they may find the yard around the hut is given to somebody else. Who would want to live on a hut which is completely a little, patch of land on which the hut stands? That is yours. The rest of the yard is not yours. It's not viable. But that is the problem. Zanu-PF refused to give land title deeds to people because he didn't want to give them economic independence. Ian Smith did the same thing. He didn't want to give blacks land because he wanted to be able to manipulate them, telling them, oh, you're being moved from here. You're being moved somewhere else. And Mugabe has done the same thing. His headmen, his chiefs, are Zanu-PF political commissar. And if you were in the rural area of Zimbabwe with your reputation, I can tell you, you'll be told that you're no longer welcome to live in this village. You've got to find somewhere else to live. So upping your sticks to go to another village somewhere else is a big issue to a rural peasant. And would you invest in building a decent homestead The answer is no, because you know you are not secure. So there is a lot that can be done without seizing the existing land and giving it to the peasants. But for somebody like Julius Malema, all those things is water off a duck's back. He doesn't understand that. Just comment on that one. Regis is saying, how does Mnangagwa become chair before resolving the SADC election observer mission report? Well, at the present moment, I think as far as SADC is concerned, that issue has been swept under the carpet. Yes, with ANC now losing these elections, I think it is possible that it may come up again. But I think SADC at the present moment may have moved on. But it is not so difficult to imagine that Mnangagwa will be involved in some other vote rigging misdemeanor. As we have already seen, there have been reports in the Mashingo Mirror saying that Zimbabweans are getting Mozambican IDs and registering to vote in the coming October elections
But don't you think that type of practice is going to be a thing of the past now, especially with a new government? Things are going to change now.
Well, I mean,
with the new South Africa government, right? There's going to be more scrutiny even in SADC now this time. They're not going to take nonsense anymore. I mean, judging by with the type of trends that you've seen in Parliament, you're likely now going to see a shift of the type of arguments, the type of healthy debate that has been there inside the South Africa Parliament, shifting into the halls of power, of state power, of continental power or regional power here. So you're likely to see the DA, for instance, combining with the EF, but really, what I'm talking about, the DA's quality of parliamentary expression is now going to be state power expression. And that is definitely going to spill over into the region, don't you think? Because the DA, remember, they're made up of capitalists here. These are people who are predominantly, by and large, business people, right? This is the community that has made Elon Musk who he is today. A billionaire, the richest man on earth. These are people who are, in terms of business, they're forward-looking, Wilbert, and they are likely here to have a business mindset. None of this chitty-chatty type of politics that the continent, beginning with South Africa, has been subjected to. We're going to see here South Africa likely to rise in the next 5 years into a superpower economically here because of an emerging business mindset that doesn't take nonsense, doesn't tolerate any type of misbehavior in the politics of other countries that seek to conjoin South Africa to endorse their misrule.
I totally agree with you there. That's what I was saying to you, that in this particular case, with South Africa, ANC having received a bloody nose in this election, ANC is not going to, it doesn't have the muscle anymore to protect Zanu-PF. We know that, I mean, what Reg is talking about here, that if it had not been for Ramaphosa, who endorsed, or rather who decided to do nothing about the SADC damming report, I think Zanu-PF would have not been granted political legitimacy after last year's elections. But South Africa, and to those who can't remember, who maybe need reminding, in 2022, South Africa ANC had its own Congress, party Congress, in which they came up with a resolution that they would not allow regime change in Zimbabwe. anyone who has got any political following and understanding what was going on will tell you what ANC meant by that is that ZANU-PF could rig 2023 elections and South Africa ANC will endorse the results as legitimate, which they did. Look at the results. SADC itself condemned those elections, and most of the SADC leaders refused to go to Mnangagwa's inauguration. It was not. It was only Ramaphosa, and he came to Zimbabwe with a high-powered ANC delegation to the inauguration, and maybe two other state presidents from the region. The rest of Africa, African leaders did not, and the rest of the world did not, because those elections were condemned as having been rigged. So without South Africa, I don't think Mnangagwa would have got away with those rigged elections. And I totally agree with you that if they, as it's looking most likely now, if there was to be a coalition between ANC and the DA will not sit in the same government with ANC leaders who go around and endorse ZANU-PF's misdemeanor, particularly in blatant interfering in other countries' elections. So we may find with these people that have been registering in or getting Mozambican IDs and registering to go and vote there, ZANU-PF must be seriously thinking of, okay, we have got to tell those people, you can't do that. You get us into serious trouble. Because if there was to be an investigation and it is found, yes, there were Zimbabweans who went there, and some of those women would tell you we were encouraged by ZANU-PF officials. ZANU-PF would be in serious trouble for that. If it was the ANC on its own, they would probably get away with it, but not anymore. So I totally agree with you there. I think the years of ZANU-PF misbehaving and getting away with it are behind us. That is the truth.
Oh, Wilbert, yeah, I just got a bit of, I guess, I don't know, can I call it like, when you have insight from the inside? I hope that makes sense, Yeah, that this could be the future here. This could be the rise of South Africa.
Oh yeah, Simba, I tell you, this election in South Africa, this election results, has changed South Africa, because I think many South Africans, the last 30 years, have remained faithful to ANC for no other reason other than that this was the party that ended apartheid. And most of them were blindly loyal to Nelson Mandela rather than the present leadership they had before them. But this election, this year, they've finally jumped that gap to realize that for a country, for the sake of the country, you have got to look at who is the leader who is likely to move the country forward. And you've got to look at what they've been doing and judge them on that basis. Not judge them on some historical basis of, they were in the ANC and therefore then we must keep on supporting them. When a country has lost, as South Africa has done, because of gross mismanagement and corruption, you can't afford that kind of luxury. And let's face it, the last 30 years have been a wasted opportunity for South Africa because of ANC's mismanagement and corruption. That cannot be denied. And I think South Africans are waking up to that reality. We've got to have an open mind to say which path is likely to take us as a country forward.
And as they are building their country, Wilbert,
Yeah, exactly.
as they are building their country, do you think they're going to tolerate the man who has been conniving with the previous governments to sabotage the rule of law? And think about that one also. Sabotage the rule of law in South Africa, such that a potential 5-6 million are now flooded into their country, taking their jobs, and also the white community being dispossessed and the like, and trying to influence also chaos in their farming industry.
Well, I think going forward, they will be looking at more going forward than looking backwards, what somebody did or did not do. But I think the past of blatant corruption and mismanagement, I don't think South Africa is going to see more of that. We are going to see, in this particular case, greater accountability. This issue of, for instance, for ESCOM's failure to supply power is going to be looked at in a more realistic and serious way, rather than this kia of ANC, solutions that will get us out of the crisis for the moment. There's no long-term investment. This issue of the power stations not being properly maintained. Let's get a professional guy to manage it and leave him to do it without any political interference. Whereas at the present moment, that has not been possible because ANC leaders, they've wanted a cut. So your competence was not considered important anymore. But I think with the DA party being involved, which is the most likely outcome now, this will end. I don't know whether you've also heard that there's talk of Ramaphosa being forced to step down.
No, I haven't heard of that. What would be the agenda there? I'm confused. Why would someone want to, and who would be doing that? In the ANC, and what can you explain the context?
Yes. I mean, as a party, you would have to say, I mean, look at what happens here, like here in UK. If you as a leader fails to deliver victory for the party.
Like right now, DA is celebrating here.
Yeah, DA will be celebrating, but ANC will be looking at, well, you were president and you have delivered the worst result for ANC. And therefore, the pressure on Ramaphosa to step down. The only problem I've had is that ANC itself is divided into factions like Zanu PF, where Ramaphosa is more like the compromise candidate. Which the two factions.
I see. So it's a weak ANC that cannot even command Ramaphosa.
Well, each faction in the ANC would rather have Ramaphosa. That's my reading of some of the reports. Would rather have Ramaphosa as a compromise candidate because they feel good if one faction got if Ramaphosa was to go, then the two factions would realize they've got to get their own men in. And that will present a problem for the ANC itself as well, because the two factions will be even more divided than ever before. But that is their problem, But admittedly, it doesn't really matter whether Ramaphosa still remains. At the present moment, I think what we can say with confidence is that it will not be business as usual in South Africa. The mismanagement, the corruption that we had seen over these last 2 decades particularly would not happen anymore. because they now have got sitting in the same cabinet somebody else who has no invested interest in the corruption and mismanagement. Before they could get away with it, now they cannot. I think what we will be seeing there, if you think about what happened in Zimbabwe during the GNU, where MDC were coming in as a partner to ZANU-PF. Some of the things that ZANU-PF had been doing, the gross mismanagement and the rampant corruption, even those guys in ZANU-PF realized that it cannot be business as usual. Mugabe himself realized that. So everybody was told to take your foot off the gas. It will not be business as usual anymore. And much more so with DA in South Africa. I think DA is a competent party, and definitely when it comes to corruption and mismanagement, I do not think the leadership there would turn a blind eye, and they will not be bribed the same way that Mugabe bribed the MDC guys. So I don't think it will be business as usual, mark my word. And I think on the political side, like you correctly said there, so it will not be, ANC cannot continue to prop up ZANU-PF, for instance, and think they could get away with it. If Ramaphosa is still the president, he will not get away with a situation where he is, as ANC is throwing its weight in SADC to stop SADC taking disciplinary action against people like Mnangagwa. This issue of ZANU-PF encouraging Zimbabweans to register in South Africa, in Mozambique, so that they could vote there and influence the result there, would not go down well. And I think as we speak right now, ZANU-PF headquarters must know that. And they must know they've got to go back, whoever were involved in some of these schemes, to give up those national Mozambique national IDs. The whole thing is just unworkable. They will never be able to keep it under wraps. If Mashingo Mira could cover and has interviewed people, and those people, we could tell they were genuinely being bribed. If I get the Mozambican ID, I'll be able to get a Mozambique passport even. And I'll be able to travel from Zimbabwe into Mozambique as often as I want because I've got a Mozambican ID. There's economic benefit for them, and that was the enticement. But I don't think SADC would tolerate that. If that was to come out, particularly after the election and the opposition have lost, and they could come up with such evidence, ZANU-PF will have a lot to explain, particularly given their reputation of rigging elections. It's bad enough you rig your own elections. You start rigging elections in neighboring countries. That, I tell you, but they will not get away with it.
Yeah, but net DA, remember DA, the community at the DA. Let's look at it here a little bit. And I think, let me hear what's on your mind on this a little bit. Regarding what is likely to happen around and after this weekend, what is likely to happen soon after the final results, which are most definitely now reflecting an ANC government of your national unity with the Democratic Alliance for the first time. What is certainly the let me just get my 102. Just gonna put up here my hold on here. Okay, yeah. So Wilbert, what we seem set to see is the government of South Africa backed by a revived democratic alliance that has sprung out of parliament, and it is taking its contributions of democratic debate and scrutiny of government decisions in South Africa for the first time since the end of apartheid, taking that level of, you might want to call it healthy or unhealthy conduct, into state decision making. And as we stated earlier, the DA is the community that has produced some of the most successful and arguably expansive capitalists who are business minded. It is that same community that has produced the richest man on earth, Elon Musk, whose business is relied on by all the world powers. The most powerful countries, Russia relies on him, NATO relies NATO relies on him. And could we possibly be seeing now a South Africa that is going to be forward looking, that is going to be business projecting and producing more Elon Musks, and a model that was similar to, or could be compared to, the Rhodesia of the 1970s, 1975, 76, 77, and what South Africa was before apartheid, Africa's largest economy, and also, Wilbert, a South Africa government that is business minded, that is business oriented, and that will then influence its professionalism, in quotes, professionalism, across SADC. So could this be at the end? Could this be no more of what people used to see and experience, Africans struggling? Wilbert, from the time when you were growing up, the Rhodesia that you saw, Wilbert, and remember, this DA community is the same community that was running, by and large, it composes the community of white Zimbabweans who then fled to that country. So could this be the end? Could this be it? Could this be the bubble? We call it the climax, Wilbert. The the orgasm suddenly of South Africa. Zayendwa.
No, yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the state of South Africa's economy today compared to what it was 30 years ago, you cannot deny that ANC has been corrupt and incompetent. That cannot be denied. And I think South Africans are waking up to that reality. Look, you only have to compare what happened to Zimbabwe during the GNU. I don't know whether you were following it, but the economy of Zimbabwe in the first year of the GNU grew by 12%. And this has got to be compared with the negative, minus 6% the year before. That is your starting point. So when you've got the economy like you have got in South Africa, where there's load shedding, mismanagement, corruption, and waste of both material and human resources, people can see it. They can see the economy. Yes, it hasn't reached the level of Zimbabwe, but it was going there. And so the opportunity to improve it is absolutely unbelievable. The next 5 years, the economy of South Africa could easily be turned around. Easily. And the people would not be so naive not to see it. That things have definitely improved. And therefore, then, who is going to get credit for it? It's not going to be ANC. It's going to be DA. And this is, in fact, one of the reasons why ANC was hell-bent on stopping regime change in South Africa. They wish they could rig elections like Zanu-PF was doing, because they are not that stupid. They could see the economy in South Africa was in deep trouble. And when they've destroyed the economy, anyone who comes and things start to improve will only be pointing to, you see, ANC were a failure, and it proves it. This is one of the reasons why Zanu-PF, yes, as much as they accepted the GNU, they were not going to allow MDC to win the elections in 2018. They were doing everything in their power to make sure that MDC does not win elections. For the simple reason that if ANC and MDC government was to come in and the economic recovery that was experienced in the first year of the GNU was to be relived again, people will lose confidence in Zanu-PF completely. Zanu-PF will be finished. But in South Africa, it's different. South Africa that's one thing that has worked in South Africa's favor. Their democratic institutions have remained strong, even after 30 years of ANC rule. I think I haven't heard anyone complain about these elections having been rigged.
No.
A clear sign that if it was Zanu-PF, you can bet that they would have rigged them. They would have bribed officials to make sure that the elections are rigged. Zanu-PF is that desperate to win elections, to stay in power. Zimbabwe.
Sizonetsa here kuSouth Africa kwacho naiko ndokuva takatopa vana Scott mari ikabva yabinga, mari yemaballot boxes ikabva yadliwa naWicknero iko zvinova kumukirana. You've seen the document of it. That's an interesting document we need to discuss. Have you read it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you need to see. It's a big document, 64 pages.
Yeah, but the
64
amount
pages.
The amount of money that Mnangagwa spent in last year's elections in the process of bribing officials from the village heads to chiefs to small officials in the electoral process, right up to the judges. It must, if somebody was to add it up, I wouldn't be surprised that we are looking at $4 to $5 billion US. That means wasted a lot of money in bribing officials. And let's face it, Simba, those people were bribed. No one can, in their right mind, if you were to interview one of the judges today, call them and ask them, when you received that check of a housing loan of 400,000 US dollars, housing loan, what did you think? Did you think it was a gift or a bribe or just a peck? I think if they were honest, they would tell you they knew it was a bribe. They knew they were not expected to repay that 400,000. They received it and pocketed it. And they, in turn, delivered what the regime wanted. There was no way they were going to question the process itself. This comes back to our constitutional court. The constitutional court, even in 2018, when Chamisa challenged the election result, the constitutional court was never, ever going to give a judgment that would have been considered to the advantage of the opposition. No chance.
Wow. Wilbert, could we just maybe end by just quickly reviewing the figures? Because I want to take a short break and then we can come back again. I think it's going to be a whole night. Punga cheche, tukona vanu. Hey, nyaya South Africa yiru bata zo. Vanu, we've got over 1,400 people watching right now, literally. Yeah, 1,300 on Twitter, and then the rest on YouTube and Facebook. Literally, is also so as we speak.
Well, I'm pleased
This
that
is our
Zimbabweans are taking a real interest in the South African elections, because it really is giving Zimbabwe the opportunity to get our house in order as well. So yeah, I mean, this is a debate that I have been, encouraging Zimbabweans to be involved in. I think South Africa, the changes that has happened in South Africa, has opened new doors. I saw you in Zimi, you were commenting on George Charamba's comment and saying that ZANU-PF will emerge unscathed by ANC's defeat. I think that is being very naive, to say the least. Nobody is going to be fooled by that. ZANU-PF is feeling the heat. South Africa's ANC is no longer going to prop
but
up.
can I Wilbert, hold on here. Here's an important story. Here's a real crazy story, right? That I actually think is important to investigate. The now that the let me put it across here. Now that the current or the emerging government, okay, the government that's going to come out here, the new government of South Africa is definitely going to be a coalition between the Democratic Alliance and the ANC. And the DA being the type of party that is business mind set, and also that is arguably principle driven and rule of law engineered. Coming into power as early as next week, now that it has been revealed that an electoral crime, the electoral crime, the electoral crime relating to the 2023 elections happened in South Africa. And I mean the contract of printing ballot papers involving the money laundering accused Wicknell Chivayo. And Wilbert, we're dealing with here the type of accusations that have got, these are the type of accusations against Emerson Mnangagwa, or shall we say against Zanu PF, that have very clear audited data, 64 pages showing that a money laundering offense has happened and it is connected to the 2023 August elections that were authoritatively condemned by the regional body. Could we not see now the Democratic Party with its parliamentary proficiency that is now transferred into government state power, extending that authority yonder into the regional body to force a professional policing of Emerson Mnangagwa's state power by the regional body? Because now, South Africa, Wilbert, because now South Africa has the policing authority. Because the crime actually happened on its soil in Sandton.
Well,
Johannesburg. And this is a crime that has got 64 pages that we are sharing here. That is very clear that they entered into a deal, right? That they entered into a deal with a convicted money launderer who is now splashing cars. And they starved the election with ballot papers. That has caused the sabotaging of the election outcome in Zimbabwe. That is affecting the South African economy. Zvaendwa kaWilbert izvi. Zvaendwa kaizvi.
well, I mean,
Maspotsa apera kapa. Maspotsa apera kapa.
no, I mean, there's no doubt that these election results are going to shine a new light on Zimbabweans' activities in South Africa, and you know, I mean, I haven't seen this 64-page document. If there's evidence that
Wilbert, I'm sending you right now. Ngati tori start dai document road because maspotsa chino atopera manje. Azonyatsopera zvakanaka.
yeah,
zvandaimbotwara zvezvegoreria Wilbert zvokuti masports ari kupera ega. Sorry, ari kuputika ega.
Yeah, but what I was trying to say there is what you've got to remember here is that DA will come into this government, will only be coming in as a partner. And in this particular case, it will not be in the Democratic Alliance interest or the national interest to try to be vindictive to ANC leaders or to what you call it, make it difficult for the national government or the coalition government to operate. As much as they would want to stamp out corruption, I think they will focus on, let's sort out our problem here in South Africa. They know that ZANU-PF has been involved and ZANU-PF has had a lot of other activities. But I think going forward, some of those things, if they can be investigated, they probably would be investigated. If there's this 64-page report, like you're saying, and a cabinet may decide we are not going to sweep it under the carpet. This is part of the process of cleaning up government operations. And this must be cleaned up. But what I was also saying is that ZANU-PF itself must know, could anything that they do now would definitely be looked at with a magnifying glass. And if they think in the past, like they did in the past, where they got away with a lot of criminal activities, vote rigging and so forth, that going forward would be very difficult to continue. And that I can rest assure you, that would be one of the things that the ANC government will know. As much as we have protected ZANU-PF in the past, we cannot do so in the future. The past may be very difficult to uncover who was involved in doing what. But going forward, I think that will be that would be very difficult. Very difficult. And some of these cases, with ZANU-PF's reputation, I don't know whether you've seen, there was an interview that was given by a South African. Unfortunately, I got only a clip of that video, so I didn't get who that person was. But in that interview, what he was saying is very clear, that South Africans should not take their democracy for granted. What has happened in Zimbabwe, ANC was keen to see that being repeated in South Africa. And I believe that many South Africans in this vote were aware of that. That ANC's cozy relationship with ZANU-PF was purely out of its own instinct to survive, to stay in power as long as possible at all costs. And so cutting the ANC's powers now has saved that country. Because if ANC had remained, had won these elections with a clear majority, I would not put it beyond ANC to start looking seriously at how are we going to make sure that we keep in power, we stay in power, and rig elections. That has not been possible in these elections, from what I could see. But going forward, they would have tried, because that power, the individuals in the ANC have become so incredibly greedy and desperate to stay in power at all costs. That is not going to happen anymore. ZANU-PF, I think, must know it. They may have got away with a lot of things in the past. In the future, will they do so? And as for the rigged elections last year, that issue has not been resolved. Because for the record, SADC itself has accepted the SADC Election Observer Mission report that those elections were flawed and illegal. That makes ZANU-PF, Mnangagwa, and this regime illegitimate. And so if this was to come up, say in August, when they are supposed to have their meeting to confer the chairmanship to Mnangagwa, I can rest assure you that ANC, if Mnangagwa thinks in the past ANC had probed him, his position, ANC would want to do that. No, they would not want to do that. They would not want to be associated with a regime that is illegitimate. So the pressure is on him. And that's what I don't know whether they would want to say, well, you know, we discussed this. And personally, I would say this issue should have been discussed and finalized. And the fact that they've decided to do nothing about it, that was the decision then. To keep on digging it up is counterproductive. And maybe some of the SADC countries, as much as they would have wanted ZANU-PF to be held to account then, would not want SADC to be bogged down in the same issue 9 months after the election, and we are still discussing the rigged elections. We should have decided, made a decision on it. And if we decided to do nothing about it, that was the decision. Let's get on with it. You know. But if ZANU-PF was to be seen to be interfering in Mozambique's elections, which has been reported that they've been involved, that would throw a totally different light to the issue. You have a reputation of rigging elections. It's bad enough you're rigging your own elections, but when you start to export that culture to other countries, destabilizing the whole region, that is totally unacceptable. I don't think some of these things are going to continue. I think in the gold mafia documentary, we saw that a lot of the gold that was being smuggled, tobacco that was being smuggled, South Africa and Zimbabwe have worked very closely. Some of the smugglers have found the two countries very convenient for their dirty business. I think the government that is going to emerge out of this will be looking into some of those things, tightening them. And any Zimbabwean who has been doing their dirty business in Zimbabwe and think they can continue and have some of their activities spilling over into South Africa, they will find it very difficult. You know, the regime that is going to emerge out of this election is going to be a lot more competent, a lot more efficient, and there's not going to be that rampant corruption and mismanagement of the past. And that is a warning to all those who have been involved in that kind of dirty activity.
Oh, Wilbert, we might have to shut. I just want to see before we go. Amira say my results are but please South Africa, South Africa. Mas sports acho nasco kupera je, kupera je.
Well, ANC is finished now. That's one thing we can say for certain.
Wow, next one. How far now? Let me see. No, but Wilbert, let's be honest. Is no that this. Oh, Wilbert, 90 what? 93. Oh, sorry, I thought it was 100% complete. 93% complete, right?
Yeah.
And ANC is now at 40.82. Hey, Irungo Zikira, come on.
40.
Yeah, 40.82.
Wow.
Sure. Let me just put up the results so that we can actually see them on the screen. Yeah, that would be better. Hey, come on! I was right a little bit. Now I understand why Zimbabweans say Zaendwa. Hey, yeah. I'm just pulling it up. Hold on. Okay, here we go.
Although
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of it covered in the South African media. I must admit, I haven't been reading the South African media that much. But I think the ANC's causal relationship with ZANU-PF, many South Africans, I hope many South Africans saw it as one of the most serious threat to democracy in South Africa.
Uh-huh.
And I hope this election is a reflection, at least in part, of that. You know,
Uh-huh.
because if it is, that will send a clear message to ANC that that is a no-go area. But as for South Africa, a comment is saying ANC is never coming back. It will come back, because that is part of the democracy. It's just been given a serious nosebleed in these elections, and the leadership, if they are competent, they'll realize from now on, if we want to retain power, we have to offer something different. We can't pretend there was no corruption in the ANC. We can't pretend that there was gross mismanagement in the ANC. And after 30 years, to be quite honest, I think ANC deserved to be put out of office. And this should be a wake-up call for them. And I can see them reorganizing ANC, coming up with more dynamic leadership that has got more focus. This is the beauty of democracy. If you offer the electorate something that they like, they will vote for you. But the important thing for this election is that the mold has been broken. The idea that ANC, because it's the party that brought the end of apartheid, has got the divine right to rule South Africa, which some of the leaders in the ANC had got into their head. You could tell that is the mentality that is, they really believe in the same way Zanu PF believes that they have got the divine right to rule Zimbabwe. South Africans, some of the ANC leaders really began to believe that. I think that has been knocked, the stuffing has been knocked out of them. That is just not going to be tolerated. No one has got the divine right to rule. The people must have the final say, period.
So it's 93%, 93.7. So that's almost 94% of the count, right?
Yeah.
Done. And we have there ANC at 40.82. You can read if you want with it. Mm-hmm. So which means that if DA, that thing that I was telling you, Wilbert, if DA combines with DA combines with it would be a hard one. If DA could combine with 5 parties and the DA could be a majority. If DA combines with MK and EFF and IFP, it could actually flood out ANC, but it looks highly unlikely.
Well, DA and, to be quite honest, at the present moment, MK, EFF, their policies are so extreme that even ANC will find it very difficult to work with them. I think if ANC push comes to shove, that they find it difficult to work with DA, they could work with EFF, trade with Malema, some of the things that he wants. Because if you look at those two parties, they do have more than 50% there between the two of them. If you add the two there, it's actually going to be 50.29. So they just got over the line. Would Julius Malema want some of his extreme policies enforced? I think they probably.
I don't think EFF can work with DA. Forget it. And I
No, I
don't
mean
think
with ANC.
yeah, and I don't think ANC will work with MK, because ANC views MK as its own people who rebelled and who could cause chaos. It sees MK as a cancer to the ANC, because it could end up being a situation where MK starts to inflict injuries that bleed the numbers from ANC into MK eventually. So because MK is actually ANC itself, so it's highly unlikely, like what has been said there, that in either MK or EFF will merge with DA. Sorry, with ANC. ANC would rather work with a party that is not itself, but where that can help to bring balance without being a serious threat to itself, to its existence.
Well, in this particular case, if it wasn't for the extreme policies of MK, because one of the things that Jacob Zuma was saying in one of the interviews he gave a few days ago was that the MK was formed because ANC was failing to implement the reforms that gave power to the ordinary people. So in this particular case, MK sounds like it wants to follow the same policies as EFF. Although I think Jacob Zuma has got a personal agenda to settle with ANC leaders. And that is why it will be very difficult to work with MK. But as for the extreme policies, both MK and EFF, I think they've got similar extreme policies. But I foresee a situation where ANC, because even if it had EFF, it will just get over the line. DA cannot work with MK or EFF. And so, I think that will be very difficult. In any case, ANC, because it has got the bigger percentage of the votes, it has got the first right to try to form a coalition. If the likes of Ramaphosa was to step down and there was to be a serious leadership change, reshuffle within ANC, I think if there was to emerge some of the more competent leaders within ANC, I would say they would not see anything wrong with working with DA. Some of those extreme views that we had, was it an MK leader commenting that this is like resurrecting de Klerk? DA can never be compared with the Afrikaner apartheid regime. I think that is taking the comparison too far.
Wilbert, this is really an interesting time, and I think people are not sleeping. 1.5 on the line right now. And asgurara. Mabhazi achinja kachi Wilbert. Temperature achinja.
Well,
temperature achinja.
I think Zimbabweans, I'm glad that they're paying full attention to these elections in South Africa, because they are really important. They will spell a lot of change in Zimbabwe itself. ZANU-PF, as much as they would want to put a brave face and pretend, yes, they would have wanted the ANC to retain its majority in South Africa, but it's not going to make any difference. Forget it. the winning of HH in Zambia and the change of guard in Malawi and many other countries within SADC had no real ramifications far-reaching than what we are seeing happening in South Africa. ANC, ever since it got into power, has been the dominant player in SADC. And there can be no doubt that if ANC had not propped up Zanu-PF last year, I honestly believe that SADC would have said they are not going to give Zanu-PF political legitimacy. We would have seen a new GNU emerge.
Because right now Zaendo a little bit. Because right now Zaendo it's only a matter. If it's not days, it's weeks. If it's not weeks, it's months, right? But it seems highly unlikely that Mnangagwa is going to have his way this time. Am I wrong? And Mnangagwa is going to be is already facing resistance from within, chaos from within, right? And I also wonder how he's going to become chairman of SADC under these conditions. I think Wilbert Maspotsa Ayatangaya.
Well, becoming chairman, like I said, I think that decision, SADC, as an organization, when they saw the report condemning those elections, that would have been the right time to say, no, we can't endorse Zanu-PF's legitimacy. But when they decided to do nothing about it, as much as I would have wanted them to have done something about it, I think that was the decision. And for them to be revisiting the same issue now, 9 months after the election, to me, I think that would be unwise. And also, Simba, you must not forget, that SADC faced the challenge of, okay, even if we deny Zanu-PF political legitimacy, what do you think will happen next? You cannot deny CCC was immediately after the elections, was it already to the point where Chamisa himself walked out of the party. Right now, Chamisa, although he was the presidential candidate of CCC, he is no longer a party leader of that. He's not even a member of that party anymore. And that makes it very difficult. What would you, if you were SADC, would you still have pushed for the Zanu-PF to be denied political legitimacy? The question then is, to what end and purpose? Because if CCC has imploded, to say, okay, we'll have a GNU, with who? All these other 9 small parties that were involved. Because CCC has imploded into 4 different groups. Chamisa himself has even walked out. So with who? If you were a SADC leader, honestly, I would have told you, Kuti, at the present moment, there's no point in pursuing this issue. It will just give you headaches. You deny Zanu-PF political legitimacy, then you have got to come up with a solution. It's not they have the nation without a government. What is the solution?
Wow. Chief, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back, Simba. Ah.
Nyika
Nika yauya.
Wilbert zogara mumusha. Zogara munyika dzinotonhora idzi. Hmm?
Well, not yet. I think Zanu PF is still in charge there.
But at this level, at this rate, what do you think?
Well, Zanu PF's days are numbered. It doesn't even take a day, Simba, for Zanu PF to go. The day that Zimbabweans are going to throw away their fear and get in the streets, that's the day that Mnangagwa is going to go. The day that Zanu PF is going to go. And I will tell you, if all of us just get in the street just like that, it won't be more than 2 days. Those people will run away. You know how he is. They just need us to do that. That's what is going to happen. It might take time, but it's going to happen.
Well, Zimbabweans got in the street in 2017. That didn't change anything.
That's different. That's different. Mugabe went. When Zimbabweans got in the streets, Mugabe went. Of course, nothing changed. But it shows you that if people do that, if people get in the streets, there are always results. But if we don't, then nothing will happen. That's the truth.
Well, let's be careful. The 2017, it wasn't ordinary Zimbabweans who forced Mugabe to go. It was the army. The
army would not have done it without ordinary Zimbabweans.
Yeah, the people were just brought in to give the process some resemblance that it was public opinion. Let's be honest about that. The people got on the street with the permission of the army, at the invitation of the army.
You can go ahead and tell us, Wilbert, because you are part of the system. So you can say what you're saying. But what I know is even prior to that, Zimbabweans were protesting. They were getting in the streets, and there were results. The difference on 2017 was the numbers were just large enough. They were, that's how we are able to overwhelm even.
Well, let's express.
And if we do that again, Wilbert, if that happens again, Mnangagwa will be gone tomorrow.
Chief, let's express your opinion without having to accuse me of being part of the system. I've never been part of the system. So just confine yourself to the facts. I did not support Zanu PF. I've never supported Zanu PF. I never supported the people going on the street in 2017 for the simple reason that I knew because the army was just inviting them to give the semblance that it was the people. I would have said, people should have said, no, we don't want anything to do with this. If there's going to be change, let's have a democratic process, properly defined with a proper objective. Not jumping.
Wilbert, you criticize everything that citizens do. That's your nature. No matter how much people try, the MDC has tried, the CCC has tried, but you're out there every day bashing CCC, bashing Nelson Chamisa, and what makes me mad is you bash Chamisa more than you bash Emmerson Mnangagwa. You criticize Zanu PF, MDC, CCC, or the opposition more than you criticize Zanu PF.
It's not a question of, this is not a beauty contest. This is what you are failing to understand. If I'm criticizing Chamisa, I criticize him on what he has done. This is not a beauty contest that I've got to wear, that the minute I say something critical about Chamisa, I must also balance it with criticizing Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa is a corrupt, incompetent, and murderous tyrant. What is there to compare? The country is
so you decide to go after the biggest hope that Zimbabweans have.
Yeah, no, but Chamisa, in this case, when I criticize him, I say Chamisa and MDC failed to implement reforms. That is a historic fact. Why should I have to balance that with what?
With the people that are refusing to make sure that there are reforms.
No.
Reforms, Wilbert, wherever you go, world over, in the region, they are never implemented by the opposition. They are implemented by the government. They are implemented by the powers that be, the people that are in there that have the power to do that. How do you expect Nelson Chamisa to implement reforms? We push for reforms as opposition. And pushing for reforms, we have done that. That's why we formed NERA. That's why we had so many demonstrations during the era of NERA, because we're trying to push for reforms. We go to parliament, we push our agenda in parliament, we write papers, we write to ZEC, we go to court, and all that has been done. So for you to keep singing that same song every now and again when you get a platform, let me finish. Let me finish. No, let me finish, Wilbert. And then you keep singing that same song. The opposition failed to implement reforms. We don't implement reforms. The opposition cannot implement reforms.
Let me tell you how they implement
pushing
reforms.
We have done.
You don't listen. They were in government. It was a government of national unity. It wasn't a Zanu-PF government. It wasn't an MDC government. It was a government of national unity. The opposition, any MP in the opposition or in Zanu-PF could submit reform proposals. How many reform proposals did MDC submit?
So you think they were not submitted? They were submitted.
Tell us what reform they submitted.
All the reforms, the political reforms,
don't tell us
the media reforms, the electoral reforms, all the reforms were submitted, including the diaspora vote.
My friend, there was no reform proposal submitted.
No, that's not true.
I'm telling you, that is a historic fact.
No, that is not true.
Okay, tell us which reform they submitted.
Electoral reforms. Political reforms.
Right. And Parliament
media reforms.
Let's follow it up. And you are telling me it was submitted and it was discussed, and did Parliament agree on those electoral reforms?
They were submitted.
Okay, and Parliament
they were approved or not.
Do you know the process of you submit a reform proposal? Parliament is supposed to discuss them and finalize on that reform proposal and then give it to Mugabe to sign. Was that process ever followed?
Yes, it was done.
So you want to tell me that Mugabe signed all the reform proposals?
Remember that ZANU-PF still had the majority. It was a unity government, yes, but in parliament, people were still voting along party lines, and ZANU-PF still had the parliamentary majority. So, they did what they did. The proposals were made, and they were voted for. If they were outvoted, that doesn't mean, and it doesn't warrant you to keep saying the opposition did nothing. The opposition did not implement reforms, as if they were the implementing authorities. No, they were not.
So, sir, MDC-N and MDC-T had the majority in parliament. That is another historic fact.
So those are two different parties.
Yeah, but they were both oppositions.
Yeah, so together.
ZANU-PF had majorities. It didn't have the majority. The two MDC factions had the majority. So there was no reform proposal submitted in parliament, discussed, and passed by parliament. Mugabe never refused to sign any reform proposal that were put before him by parliament because there was never any.
Tiripo Magadiniko. Tiripo.
pane vari kumusha manheru ano vachiri kufamba manheru ano asi kune kune zuva here kumusha uku chief achiripo here chief
It's
I
2
think
o'clock
yes.
in Zimbabwe right now.
pamwe ari kutotonga nyaya izvo so mwe atori kwasvosvo kwari kutotonga nyaya yemanheru vanozviita kamadzimambo anoita zvavanoda unoona achigara dare na2
I'm glad that Zimbabweans are taking a really active interest in South African elections.
aiwa zvaendwa ubet kunonzi kuendwa unozanonzi kuendwa zvaita sei zvaendwa
Totally agree.
zvaendwa anonzi masports ekugadzira nyika
and trimming. Do you remember Secretary General of ANC? Some of the remarks he gave, even when he came to Mnangagwa's inauguration, the remarks he gave about their support when people criticized him about why is ANC the only party in SADC that has supported this. You know, the arrogance with which he dismissed those criticism, I think they really have been shaken. ANC will never be the same again. Definitely not as supportive.
And their sister party. You know, I was talking with someone from Zambia one day. Wilbert. You know when you know my passion for legal warfare, legal ammunition, remember?
Yeah.
So when I saw ANC took Israel to court in The Hague, right? Suing them for genocide. So I was foreseeing a situation where Zambia would copy the same model and take Vana ED, for instance, right? Because Vana ED have been doing genocide in the ANC and the like, right? And also use international law. So someone said to me, someone Ogo Zambia, you know, so this guy said to me, Iwe Simba Siana Nesu, we are too busy fixing our economy. All this that they're doing is going to end very soon. And I wondered what that was. I still have the text message. Let me see, where is it? I mean, they were really angry with me for trying to nudge them, to influence them, so that they copy the South African strategy of taking another country, the ANC strategy, taking another country. You get what I mean, right? You can't take Mnangagwa too for genocide. And now you are jumping yonder, 7,000 miles away, right, to sue Israel over genocide. You get what I mean? So what I'm saying with that, Wilbert, is this, that maybe they had foresight that, look, ANC is headed for a, you know, it's like it's a driverless vehicle now.
Yeah, but you know my take on that one. I think actually ANC stacking up that case has given ANC some credibility. They are
Wilbert, ANC is guilty, was found guilty by the Supreme Court of South Africa over genocide happening in Zimbabwe. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 judgments have been passed in South Africa. Yeah, since 2014 over this is genocide law. Yeah.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, ivo veku-ANC vachina munhu waifanira kutanga vaiti vavaprosecute vaenda naye kucourt ndiMnangagwa iZanu-PF. Before you touch Israel, deal with ZANU-PF. That's my point. How on earth can you say, Wilbert, the South African economy is being damaged, is being affected by the situation in Zimbabwe? At one time, South African presidents used to spend more time in Zimbabwe than in South Africa. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, and yet South Africa has no relationship with Israel. With Israel or Palestine, economically or whatever, they might have some political issues, right? And some historic bitterness, whatever things in relationships. But my point is, saving the South African taxpayer, the first a direct compromise to the South African economy is Emerson Mnangagwa, it is Zanu PF. Saka kutanga kwako tanhadza unosvikira usati waenda uko usati unobata ukoko because uko hautombozivi kuti zvabva nepapi. And what is worse about this, Wilbert, no, listen to me, no matter how barbaric the Israelis can be accused to have been, right? Let's look at it here. They are at a time of war. Was it even strategic? Why didn't the ANC also take the Gaza leaders, the Hamas leaders over genocide? Because does it make sense, Wilbert, that look here, they are civilians, Israel civilians, yeah, have been killed. Hamas entered Israel. They killed. They attacked civilians. They didn't attack an army, Wilbert. They didn't attack the Israeli police. They attacked civilians, right?
Well,
So
the international court, Simba, their last judge, the most recent judgment, have indicted the Israeli Prime Minister and the Minister of Defense, plus the Palestinian leader, one or two of the Palestinian leaders.
Yes, but my point is, Robert, is this. The court action in South Africa at first, it seemed to be one-sided. It seemed to be not concerned about the protection of human life on all fronts, on all angles. It seemed to be downright accusatory, even though it could be justified. My point is, because I'm not saying it wasn't, but I'm just saying here, it seemed to be a declaration of war against a nation that arguably could easily argue its way that it is defending itself. You see, from attacks.
But I think in
what
this
I'm saying is, why are you going to a country? Imimi muri kukonzeresa genocide. You're causing genocide just across the Limpopo. Madi kutanga dzenyu dzetinoku mogadzira. Serve the interests of the South African taxpayer before you fly 7,000 miles away.
Well, that point is taken, Simba. The point here is like an individual, a man, yeah, raising issues in his neighbor's house that are whatever the neighbor is doing wrong, and yet he's doing worse things in his own house. The main problem you tend to have then is it a question of what he is raised is less important than the issues that he himself is involved with? It's like me raising an issue about my neighbor is beating up his wife, and then I am beating up my dog. Is beating up the dog and beating up the wife to be on par? Doesn't matter which one is which. But the point there is, yes, as much as you should not be beating up your dog, you should not also be beating up your wife. In this case here, South Africa, I honestly believe what you are raising is an important issue. The main reason why South Africa is chosen to front this Palestinian cause, just as much as it is a genuine cause, is to draw attention away from its own wing at home. That point cannot be denied. And I totally agree in some of the cases, particularly in Zimbabwe, where you're saying, wait a minute, you are the one who, in October last year, you were one of the 3 presidents who attended an inauguration of somebody who your own regional body had said these elections are flawed. And yet you attended the inauguration of that individual to give the process credibility, to give the regime political legitimacy. Why is it that you're indifferent to what you yourself you're promoting across the Limpopo, like you correctly said? And it's affecting South Africans as well, because at the end of the day, the political instability in Zimbabwe has overflowed to South Africa and the rest of the region. At that point cannot be denied. However, the point of taking up the case of the Palestinians as well, I think even more countries now, if you look at the international news now, many countries have now come to criticize America's position on that issue. And some of them have gone one step further and they've said they're going to recognize the Palestinian as a state. And I think that if I was a Palestinian, I would see that as a positive measure. And if I was a Palestinian, yes, to listen to the debate about why is South Africa raising that issue when it's not doing something in Zimbabwe. Yes, as much as I would say, yes, South Africa should raise those issues as well. Why is South Africa doing that? I'll still say, yes, I think raising the Palestinian one was also equally important. So I think that one is, it's not a question of, we can have both. And we should have both. Justice is denied. A headache to you is just as important as an earthquake that kills millions of people in the country next door. You feel it. Let's attend to both of them. You know, so in this particular case, there was no excuse why South Africa was not able to attend to the problems in Zimbabwe. Absolutely none. In fact, it was the most arrogant. I mean, if you go back to their November 2022 Congress, ANC Congress, where Mbulula, the Secretary General, came up to announce one of the resolution of that Congress, saying that ANC had resolved that they were not going to allow regime change in Zimbabwe. You say to yourself, this is unbelievable. Zimbabwe is not a province of South Africa. Why is ANC now saying they will not allow regime change in another country? Who is there to decide whether we should rule Zimbabwe? It's the Zimbabwean people. Of course, South Africa knew, ANC knew that ZANU-PF was rigging the elections. All it was saying is telling ZANU-PF in advance that we will endorse those results. And their argument is because these sanctions have been imposed on ZANU-PF. Why should I, as an ordinary Zimbabwean, be denied my right to a meaningful vote because the West imposed sanctions on ZANU-PF? What have I got to do with it? Why is my right to a meaningful vote being now made conditional, on condition that the West lifts sanctions, will have free, fair, and credible elections? What has that got to do with me? And for another country to say we are not going to allow regime change in Zimbabwe until the sanctions are lifted. Of course, South Africa ANC leaders knew that the sanctions was just an excuse. I don't know whether you had a chance to listen to a video that was produced by Eddie Cross recently when he was explaining that ANC during Becker's time did send one of the assistant deputy minister of foreign affairs to carry out a research on what would be the political implications of Zanu PF losing power in Zimbabwe. I think that was in 2008 or 2013. And the deputy minister came up with a report and saying that would cause a serious threat to ANC itself losing power. And from there on, ANC's decision was we will support Zanu PF at all costs.
But this time, I end a little bit.
There, I totally agree with you. Now, and I hope many South Africans understood that as well. And this is their punishment to ANC. We can't have a situation where another country comes and say, oh, I'm not going to allow regime change here. Who are you? You know, it's bad enough for you to do nothing when Zanu PF rigs the election. But for you to come out and say, we are going to support you, even if you rig election, that was going too far, Zimbabwe. That really was being very cheeky. And I'm glad that South Africans have given ANC a bloody nose. In fact, it is in their own interest. ANC had reached a point where the corruption mismanagement had become so rampant that party was no longer capable of correcting itself. That is the truth. That's why it had become so rampant. But now, with their wings clipped, seriously clipped, they do not have the majority to form a party, a government on their own. I think we will see ANC being seriously transformed.
I'm just seeing people here. Someone is saying, Vama Gombe. Musadara kufamba usiku. Okay, okay, that's something else. And then Blessing Magombe. How are you, Blessing Magombe? Blessing Magombe says, Nika yekwedu yakasununguka than South Africa. Aufambi this time. Okay. Muneshua irana Blessing. Zimbabwe muri Israel. Munogara Zimbabwe EPH. Benjamin Hollington says CCC taking up seats was the final nail on the coffin. To think of a GNU is naive. What we need now to do is have the SADC recommendations implemented before the 2020. Why do you want to wait for 2028 elections? Why can't you do my sports now? Why can't you now work with the new DANC government and Mogadzra sports Mananga go viso?
Oh yeah, but personally I would say if the problem with this waiting for 2028, you've got to say, wait in what way? If you're going to wait. Exactly. If you're going to wait, if you're going to do nothing until 2028, then it's a wasted opportunity. The pressure should be brought to bear on the regime now and saying, okay, how are we going to make sure that reforms are implemented? And at the present moment, I'll be honest with you, I don't see any reforms being implemented. Zanu PF, of course, has got an invested interest. They will never implement any reforms. And Triple C, as much as we hear the likes of our friend there, Chief Shoshe, claiming that we have formed the NARA group has always paid lip service to reforms. Most of those people, if not all of them, in NARA, participated in elections in the past. And as much as they would want to make a lot of noise now about reforms, when push comes to shove, they'll participate in those in the coming 2028 elections without even one token reform implemented. Sorry?
I didn't say anything. Did someone say something? No, I think I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. Hey, saka Amira say manje results. Amira tuone timbo my supper screen up. Let me just put up the screen a bit, and then maybe we can be reading the results as we shut. Because 1,600 people online right now.
Okay. Well, I think let's carry on with the debate. I don't know whether some of those have got your link so that they could join in and we could hear what they think as well. Sorry, that voice actually was something on one of my pages. It was a video that I stopped it, and it had started on its own. But yeah, I mean, Benjamin, I agree with him there. We need to force reforms now. The problem is the solution is actually not that complicated. What we need is to have the reforms so that we've got free, fair, and credible elections. Without reforms, we shouldn't have elections. But the main problem we have is that we have got the opposition that has given up on reforms. And so since the GNU, they've been telling people they can win elections without reforms. And unfortunately, the people have been gullible enough to believe it. And that has been at the heart of
the latest results, 94 at 94.39% complete. So tapa 94 manj, 94.39. Pachine go back it up a little bit. Do you think ANC can gather some and then cross over 50%?
Let's put it this way. Even if they were,
South Africa, South Africa.
Even if they were to win the remaining 5%, they'll still be on 45%. So, in terms of South African ANC winning the majority, that is now impossible. Even if they win all the remaining votes, they will still not get 50%. So I think South Africa, there's been a political earthquake there. South Africa politics will never be the same again. Just to finish what I was saying there, one of the things that we have been saying is if there's going to be free, fair, and credible elections in 2028, we need the reforms to be implemented. At the present moment, ZANU-PF is not going to implement the reforms. The four factions of Triple C who are in the opposition with holding some seats in parliament are not going to implement any reforms. Most of those guys were in the MDC that failed to implement even one reform during the GNU. And to expect that they will do so now when they're in the minority, I think is being naive. So the present opposition will not implement any reforms. Worse still, the present opposition would participate in 2028 elections, coming up with such nonsensical claims as they will win rigged elections. They will always come up with some strategy or another, far-fetched as it might be, of winning rigged elections. Last time, Chamisa claimed that he had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes, which was, of course, nonsense, given that we didn't even have a verified voters roll. The same applied in 2018, when he claimed that the MDC alliance has stringent measures to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. He didn't. I think come 2028, he'll be making similar claims. And unfortunately, we've got a very ignorant, naive, and gullible electorate who will believe that participate in the flawed elections in their millions and thus give ZANU-PF legitimacy. So stopping ZANU-PF rigging 2028 elections is a serious challenge, which many people are underestimating. The opportunity to stop them is there. It's just that we need the people to be well educated and well informed. And that is the biggest challenge. Getting some people who believe they've got the answers is one of the biggest problems that we face. Some people will not listen to reason. They are so gullible, they'll believe anything they are told by the opposition. And when you've got an electorate like that, it is a serious challenge. And to be quite honest, I think universal suffrage has not been a blessing for countries like Zimbabwe. It's been a curse. Because when you've got an electorate that is easily conned, again and again and again, you realize that it is a serious problem. ZANU-PF has been able to con some of their die-hard ZANU-PF supporters to the point where they believe that sanctions are the root cause of the country's economic problems. You present the facts to them, it's a waste of time. That is the reality.
Yeah, so I think we've got the results there, right? Kamira say. Anzi, that's rigging. Now 6% left. The result will be 46%. Or would you want to vote zero? Better 46%.
Well, if it was
How does the maths go?
Eh?
How does the maths go if they were to have? Do you think if they can push? Because right now they're at 40%, right?
Yeah.
If ANC was to push up its figure so that it gets to maybe 46 or even 50%, is it plausible with 6% of the vote left? Let's just assume it gets 100% of that 6%.
they will only be on 47%.
Why?
So even if they get the rest of the outstanding votes, they'll only be
They'll
on.
still not be 47%. They'll still be okay. Saka zwapera zvaendwa.
Yeah, no, I mean this one is finished, and
Hey.
and ANC, I think, have been humiliated. The most
Blue
important-
winner. Blue winner.
Well, the thing that one of the problems that the democracies have is that if you look at democratic countries like I think German and some of the Scandinavian countries have had that, where there hasn't been a majority government in those countries. It's always a coalition. And particularly countries where, unlike here, UK, where they've got first past the post, where each constituency, whoever wins the majority of the votes wins. Whereas this is proportional representation. That's why they are not allocating the seats yet. They've got to wait for all the results to come in and then start dividing the seats according to that's part of the proportional representation. In Zimbabwe, it's partly voted for first past the post, and then there's some parliamentary seats where you get by proportional representation. And for the senator seats, all of them, they're proportional representation, except for those appointed for the chiefs and disabled and so forth. But otherwise, that is the system. Proportional representation system tends to produce governments where it is very rare that you have a party winning absolute majority. There are advantages with both systems, but I think in this particular case, maybe a combination of where some of the seats, a good proportion of the seats, it's first past the post, and then a few proportional representation would have been better, I think, because it tends to produce a strong government. Because if you are going to negotiate, particularly in this case here, if we're talking of ANC, for instance, teaming up with EFF. EFF, they may have less than 10%, and the ANC has got 4 times as many, but they may find themselves having to accept some of the policies from the smaller party because, they cannot function as a government because they don't have the absolute majority, or the bare minimum, the 50%. So it tends to produce a weak government. But on the other hand, sometimes maybe you need a government that can be held to account by somebody else, looking over their shoulder. In this case here, a junior partner. So particularly in the case of South Africa, I think the ANC government of the last 30 years have become so corrupt and incompetent. They really needed to have their power cut back.
Yeah. Well, Wilbert, here we are. I think let's call it a night, but I'll be on. And Tishongora, if they announce, I'll definitely go live. And if you're still up, let's just connect. But I think they're still announcing. I think they're up, and they are so efficient, aren't they? They're like UK, because this is just like UK. Eh?
Well, when it comes to elections in South Africa, that's one thing none of the opposition parties in South Africa have ever complained that the process is transparent, and they try to do it as quickly as possible. I think the will to have free, fair, and credible elections has been there the last 30 years. And I've actually listened to some of the interviews being given. It's something that South Africans themselves appreciate, and they are very proud of that fact. You know, whereas in Zimbabwe, I think we have got some die-hard Zanu-PF supporters who think that rigging election is as long as Zanu-PF wins, that's fine. You know, not knowing that at the end of the day, if you allow Zanu-PF to rig elections this year, next year you may find when you think, well, maybe Zanu-PF should step down, you can't get them out because they've perfected the art of rigging elections now. MK has come strong. Now it's third. I think at one time they were their figures was below that of EFF, but now they're bigger than EFF. So wow, how about that? Interesting.
Wow, Wilbert, let's call it.
Well, what I was going to suggest is
someone said why was Chabangu given a senator seat yet he is not representing anyone? Yeah, well, it's the ndiko kupera kwacho. Chabangu is an imposter and he won't go far, as far as I can see. And I'm hoping that Zimbabweans take him on.
Well, the other reason why is because all the senators are come out of the proportional representation. So there are no by-elections for senators.
No, he was made a leader of the House.
Well, yeah, okay. I don't know whether you've got to be in Parliament or in the Senate, but in this particular case, one of the reasons why senators, all the CCC senators, or most of them were recalled and there were no by-elections is because there are no by-elections for senators. It's proportional representation. But I think in this particular case it's one of those political situations where they divided CCC. Yeah, I don't know. There's so much chaos there. But anyway, yeah, that's where we are. Do you think they'll form the GNU there?
You mean where in Zimbabwe?
Or this talk about Mnangagwa talking.
I think now is a good opportunity for South Africa to deal with this nonsense once and for all. And I don't think South Africa is going to allow Chabangu to go ahead. No, I don't think it's going to allow Mnangagwa Chabangu league to go ahead.
How are they going to stop it?
Sorry?
How will they stop it?
They could do regional pressure.
You mean deny the ZANU-PF regime legitimacy?
They could starve ZANU-PF at regional. Starve its legit, yeah.
But that's what I was saying. If they were to do it, they should have done it by now. Why wait nine months? And even if they were to do that, you say ZANU-PF is illegitimate. What's going to happen next? Do you hear that?
Sorry, if you could repeat that, please.
Yeah. If you were to say Mnangagwa's government is illegitimate, what next? Are you going to form a GNU? Are you going to have fresh elections? What?
I think they're going to push for fresh elections, like what they did time at Changraya.
No. Temia Tranquilite didn't push for fresh elections. They had the GNUs.
Oh, yes, something like that. Yes, they could push for something like that. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, but the GNU with whom? Triple C have imploded.
No, there would have to be something new done here. I actually think that fresh elections can be done, like a constitutional thing being done.
If you hold fresh elections now without changing, putting in the reforms, ZANU-PF will win. There's no real opposition now in the country, and therefore the ZANU-PF will win because they don't have to rig elections if there's no competition. So all you'll be doing is allowing ZANU-PF to have legitimacy because they have decimated the opposition. You know, if we accept what Chamisa said, that ZANU-PF infiltrated Triple C, which is the main reason why that party has imploded. So now ZANU-PF is going to reap the benefits of undermining Triple C, making it implode, and therefore then leaving the country without any meaningful opposition. ZANU-PF will benefit from the present system. And I think Mnangagwa would appreciate that. Because if there was fresh elections now, then the 5 years for the next elections would be set from the day the new administration is sworn in. I don't think fresh elections is viable. I think SADC leaders themselves will know. As much as they may want that to happen, it's not on. Last thing you want to do is keep repeating the same problem here. You want fresh elections, you've got to have the reforms properly implemented and in full, so that they are free, fair, and credible elections, not some, quick job, patched process, which even if you say SADC itself will supervise, SADC will supervise as what? As the ZEC? What about the police? What about the army? What about the CIO involvement? How are you neutralizing that? What about the war veterans? Without serious reforms of those institutions, ZANU-PF operatives in those institutions will undermine the process, as they've undermined the process before. Sorry, what I was going to say, Simba, if you want to have one tomorrow, why don't you say what time? Say if
Right.
you would say.
I think you know what? Let's have one in the evening. But because there are elections in South Africa, right? We're gonna need to be impromptu, really. Gonna just need to be seeing who is where, who is around, and depending on what has happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we'll still have the regular. Let's have the regular one 7 p.m. please.
and yeah, okay, 7 p.m. Then you can have another one maybe in between, whatever. But yeah, then people will know. Those people who are listening right now, they will know if they should listen at 7.
Right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Oh, cheers, eh? Let's catch up tomorrow a bit.
Okay. Cheers, Simba. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
You. Cheers.
So this is case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made. Have you found it?
I did. Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference down. Thank you.
Yes, I did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. What's your message to other women who are still to get their refunds?
Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Don't lose hope. And listen to Simba, please. And Bud Ezra. Listen and follow all their instructions. We'll get victory.
Wow.
The descendants of the great pharaohs are clearly now rising to take over the world. The Americans have CNN, the British, BBC, the Asians have Al Jazeera, the Germans have DW. Where is the great pharaoh's own news network? Where's the great eagle's eye? It is here. It has come alive, finally. And even now, as I look at this instant reversal previously impossible, I know that this is just the beginning. There is clearly so much more in store for us if we were willing to invest in ourselves. Let's invest in Zimi, our own network, the Black Pharaoh's News Network, the People's Eye, the Zimi.
So this is case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made.
Northampton.
Have you found it?
I did. Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference down. Thank
Yes,
you.
I did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. What's your message to other women who are still to get their refunds?
Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Don't lose hope. And listen to Simba, please. And Bud Ezra. Listen and follow all their instructions. We'll get victory.
Wow.
The descendants of the great pharaohs are clearly now rising to take over the world. The Americans have CNN, the British, BBC, the Asians have Al Jazeera, the Germans have DW. Where is the great pharaoh's own news network? Where's the great eagle's eye? It is here. It has come alive, finally. And even now, as I look at this instant reversal previously impossible, I know that this is just the beginning. There is clearly so much more in store for us if we were willing to invest in ourselves. Let's invest in Zimi, our own network, the Black Pharaoh's News Network, the People's Eye, the Zimi.
So this is Case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made. Have you found it?
I did. Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference down. Thank
Yes,
you.
I did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. What's your message to other women who are still to get their refunds?
Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Don't lose hope. And listen to Simba, please. And Bud Ezra. Listen and follow all their instructions. We'll get victory.
Wow.
The descendants of the great pharaohs are clearly now rising to take over the world. The Americans have CNN, the British, BBC, the Asians have Al Jazeera, the Germans have DW. Where is the great pharaoh's own news network? Where's the great eagle's eye? It is here. It has come alive, finally. And even now, as I look at this instant reversal previously impossible, I know that this is just the beginning. There is clearly so much more in store for us if we were willing to invest in ourselves. Let's invest in Zimi, our own network, the Black Pharaoh's News Network, the People's Eye, the Zimi.
So this is case number 26 out of the refunds, and we're just hearing this morning that a refund has been made.
Northampton.
Have you found it?
I did. Are you from Northampton? Hi.
How many years have you waited?
3 years.
3 years. And how does it feel?
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. And thank you very much, Simba, for all your help. Thank you so much.
Wow. And you found the reference down. Thank
Yes,
you.
I did.
How much more is left?
About 45,000.
45,000 is left.
Yeah.
So far they refunded? How much?
About 3,000.
3,000. And that's what you had deposited transferred into her account?
Yeah.
Right. Wow. What's your message to other women who are still to get their refunds?
Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Don't lose hope. And listen to Simba, please. And Bud Ezra. Listen and follow all their instructions. We'll get victory.
Wow.
The descendants of the great pharaohs are clearly now rising to take over the world. The Americans have CNN, the British, BBC, the Asians have Al Jazeera, the Germans have DW. Where is the great pharaoh's own news network? Where's the great eagle's eye? It is here. It has come alive, finally. And even now, as I look at this instant reversal previously impossible, I know that this is just the beginning. There is clearly so much more in store for us if we were willing to invest in ourselves. Let's invest in Zimi, our own network, the Black Pharaoh's News Network, the People's Eye, the Zimi.
So this is case number 26